Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we are going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting yet another win, this time over the Green Bay Packers. Joining me, because if he didn't, I'd probably die, is Evan Wanish of the Cannon Fire Podcast and Bucs Nation. Evan, how you doing, man?
Good. It's good to be back on the channel. It's been a minute. It is good to be back on the channel. Happy to be back, and hopefully you can get all good and better here soon. Really hoping that I mean it takes a lot to knock James out, especially for a game stream and stuff. It takes a lot, folks. So he is battling through it right now, but we're gonna get through this game review here and talk about what went on in the Bucks' third straight victory and pretty much their most, I would say, dominating win of the season. I would say. I think it's fair.
Yes, and quote, by the way, whenever Evan got on is, James, you look dead, which is about as accurate as I'm feeling right now. But listen, Evan, we're going to be going over some of the stats real quick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Firstly, how about Baker Mayfield? Hey, 22 of 28, 381, four touchdowns?
Yeah.
What?
How about him? And actually, he was the this is from NFL on CBS. They tweeted Baker Mayfield became the first visiting QB ever with a perfect passer rating of 158.3 at Lambeau Field, a minimum of 5 attempts. The first visiting QB ever to do that is Baker Mayfield with the Buccaneers. So I mean, look, like we talked about on the postgame show for the Campfire podcast, like he was just really good. Like he was just awesome. Like he was hitting his throws, he was on time. Didn't even really, I mean, did have the one turnover with the fumble where he held onto the ball too long. And he did that throughout the game a little bit, but I mean, really just was out on time. And as far as his throws go, he didn't really throw it like, oh, that could have been picked or that should have been picked. He was finding open guys. And look, there were sometimes guys were wide open, but there were sometimes Mayfield had to make a throw. And when he did, he did. And the Bucks really benefited from it. And it felt like the game was never really in doubt just because of how good Baker Mayfield and this offense as a whole was. I mean, obviously, almost 400 yards. Fantastic. Really, I mean, Tom Brady really didn't even do that much last year. I mean, that was sort of I even said on the Cannon Fire podcast, like that was like a 2021 Bucks offensive performance, where like the opposing defense really didn't have much hope because the Bucks were just moving the football up and down the field. So, yeah, great game by Baker. Easily his best game as a Buck, possibly the best game in his career, to be honest with you. So yeah, he was fantastic.
What an absolute king. I mean, my goodness. Listen, you know, a lot of people a lot of people have had their doubts about Baker, and look, it's understandable, right? But then he comes out and gives you this. I mean, my God, it was a fantastic performance. Literally, exactly. You couldn't ask for anything else. You know, this is. I heard you guys say this on your show. This was, and you just alluded to it. Like this was a Tom Brady esque era performance, by the Bucks offense, and Baker was at the helm there, right? And
Mhm.
people have been pretty down on the Packers defense lately, which it is what it is. But for Baker to go out there, have this type of game was crazy, was absolutely crazy. But it wasn't just Baker who got some stuff going today, or I guess I should say yesterday. Rashad White also continued his streak, Evan. This is something that I highlighted a couple of videos ago about him running the football well lately. He did it again. 21 of 89 or 21 carries for 89 yards, 4.2 yards attempt and a long of 22. Chase Edmonds, look, I know he only had 3 carries, but 3 carries for 13 yards, a long of 9. It seems like the running game is finally kind of coming together this past month. Would you agree with that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and the emergence of Rashad White has been huge for this offense. I think you're seeing a more productive offense because they're finally able to run the football a little bit better. And look, like if you listen to this channel, if you listen to the Campfire podcast, we believe in throwing the football, right? You think that it's probably the long-term better play in today's NFL is throwing the ball. Now, as far as running the ball, that's important too. It's just you can't be a run first team when you can't run the ball effectively. And early in the season, the Bucs were trying to be that, and they just weren't effective running the football enough. And thus, it was a pretty stagnant offense, honestly. Now things are opening up more because this run game is being more productive. Rashad White has been on a tear. Even, I mean, didn't really get much looks in this game, but last week against the Falcons, Chase Edmonds did a great job in the run game as well. So, really, it doesn't matter who you're putting in there. And of course, they just waived Keyshawn Vaughn. So
I know you are so upset about that.
I know it ruined my Friday. It honestly did. I
Yeah.
was sitting there on a Friday afternoon and I was like, crushed, just crushed. But speaking of crushed, yeah, Rashad White has been crushing it both in the run game and the pass game. Though he has the now two straight games with a receiving touchdown, and they're not like 5 yard touchdowns, folks. Like this is long touchdowns. The one against Atlanta was 31 yards. I think the one against Green Bay was definitely over 20 yards. I'm not sure exactly how long it was, but he's turned into a threat in both the run and pass game. So it's been huge for, I think, opening up this offense and being more productive. And it's no coincidence that with this run game being more productive, that the offense in turn is having more success.
I agree with that 100%. I think that this offense works best whenever they are able to run the football efficiently, and they've been able to do that the past month or so. They've won 3 out of those 4 games. You could have said they could have won 4 out of those 4 games, but the Colts game didn't go their way ultimately. But um I agree. Rashad White, me and you talked about it earlier this year. At the beginning of the year, he looked more like a number 2 running back in a number 1 running back position. Now you're seeing like, okay, Rashad White is kind of showcasing number 1 running back ability, and that's a great improvement. You love to see that. You love to be able to see that growth and that improvement from Rashad White. You talked about it. He also did some good stuff as a receiver. He had a 26-yard touchdown today, Evan, I believe was what it was.
Okay.
Or I guess I should say yesterday. Time is an illusion. But let's dive into some of those receiving stats. How about Chris Godwin? My man. 12
Finally.
targets, 10 catches, 155 yards. I think that puts him back on track for 1,000 yards on the year. Um, Ain't gonna hear no complaints about this one. That's for sure. What a game by Godwin. You had my man David Moore getting in there. 52-yard touchdown. Absolute unit. Mike Evans had 57 yards and a touchdown. Rashad White had 50 and a touchdown. Cade Otton had 44 yards. Just everybody got a piece of this action today. Keefe even had a touchdown. Shout out to Keefe. But everybody got in on this receiving day, Evan. And it was a really, really good thing to see overall, in my opinion.
Yeah, and a fun fact about Keith, that was his first catch of the 2023 season. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, great efficiency there for Keith. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you talk about Chris Godwin potentially reaching 1,000 yards. He's currently at 68 catches for 814 yards, and we have 3 games remaining. So most likely gonna be able to hit that 1,000 yards. Only his second time all season going over 100 yards receiving. The last time was against the New Orleans Saints in week 4, all the way back in week 4, which was October 1st. So over 2 months ago, almost 3 months ago, was the last time he went over 100 yards. Look, Chris Godwin's season has not been what I don't think anybody wanted. I mean, he only has one receiving touchdown, and that was against Buffalo. That was back in October. So it's kind of amazing that you know they have had the success they've had with Godwin not sometimes being a huge factor. And it's partially been because of Mike Evans, like because of Mike Evans, his ability and his production there. But I do think that Chris Godwin finally starting to heat up there, and they got him involved early and often. I think that's a key too. Obviously, 10 catches is easily a season high for him, and yeah, he's just been really, really good for the Bucs. And look, like, especially on third downs, like on third downs yesterday, like he was unstoppable. It didn't like Green Bay didn't really have an answer for Chris Godwin, and it was a big reason why the Bucs were able to win.
Yeah, I think that this is what Bucks fans wanted to see, and what they should be seeing is, hey, your top 2 guys are getting involved, Evans and Godwin, right? They're leading the way. Godwin with 12 targets, Evans with 6. That's what it should be, right? And it's either one guy getting it's either the way we just saw it or the reverse, right? Like those two have to be the top two guys in this offense, in my opinion, for them to have some success. And even like a lot of these other guys stepping up, like Moore, like White in the receiving game, like Otten. Trey Palmer wasn't involved much. He only had two
Mhm.
targets, which was very interesting. So maybe this is like a combination we see more in the last three games of Evans, Godwin, and Moore. It's possible, but it was definitely one that worked out very well for the Bucs in this game. Real quick, Baker Mayfield did have a fumble. He lost it. That was
Mhm.
unfortunate. That was really the only miscue. I had heard you guys talking about it on your show as well. Um, but aside from that, I think the offense was spectacular, fantastic, Evan.
Yeah, I mean, besides that turnover, darn near perfect. Obviously, could you turn some of those field goals into touchdowns? Sure, but like that's pretty much nitpicking when you score 34 points. So, even that David Moore play, like that was on a critical third down. The Bucs were up 27-20. The Packers had just kicked a field goal, so if you give the ball right back to the Packers, who knows what happens there? So that's a critical play there in that moment as well.
Now to the defensive side of things, and this was interesting, right? Um, not really a lot of turnover takeaways for the Bucs, I guess I should say. Logan Hall did recover a fumble for them, which was huge. I don't remember who forced that fumble, Evan. Do you remember?
Believe it was a combination of Shaq Barrett and Levante David. It was right at the sort of close to the end of the game on a fourth down where Love scrambled and Shaq Barrett and Levante David got there.
Yeah, and speaking of Levante, nine total tackles, half a sack, two tackles for loss, a pass deflection, and a quarterback hit. Anthony Nelson had a sack, two tackles for loss, and a quarterback hit. Shaq Barrett had that half sack that we talked about. But one thing that is still notable for me, Evan, is the lack of pass rush has
Yeah.
been still concerning,
Yes.
right? Guys still aren't necessarily getting home to the quarterback. The Packers had five sacks in this game, whereas the Bucs could only muster two. Um, Overall, the defense did enough to help the team win, right? But there's still some concerns there with the pass rush and even the secondary as well, not being able to make plays and get after it. Part of that might be also because of the pass rush, but Love, look, all things considered, did not have a bad game for the Packers.
Oh,
284 yards, two touchdowns. It was just a matter of they couldn't hang with the Bucs offense in this scenario, which sounds wild to say in 2023. But um aside from a couple of those standout players that I just mentioned, the Bucs defense was not great in my opinion. I'm not going to say it was, terrible, but there was, they left a little bit of meat on the bone, so to speak.
no, I definitely think they did. And look, like the Packers were didn't have much trouble moving the football. I mean, two times they were in Bucks territory. The Packers, the first drive of the game, they went all the way down. Went for it on fourth down, and Jordan Love missed a touchdown. So that's 7 points right there. Obviously, the Packers got it right back because of the Baker Mayfield turnover, and they scored then. But like that matters, they drove all the way down the field. On that fourth down, the Packers had it in Bucks territory when they went for it on fourth down, and the Bucks forced that fumble. So the Packers didn't have, like you said, Jordan Love almost 300 passing yards. Had a pretty good passer rating, no interceptions or anything there. And just like you said, the lack of pass rush is still a concern. And against better quarterbacks, against better offenses, it's not going to fly. And the pass rush has to be better. Is it going to be? I don't know how you can expect it to just sort of suddenly flip a switch when, like, all season we've seen the evidence that the pass rush probably isn't going to be able to get it done. So we'll have to wait and see if this pass rush can muster up something with maybe some interesting blitzes or something like that. But I do think the defense, they didn't play their worst day. But they definitely, if you're gonna nitpick something about this game, and it's a 14-point win, sure, but if you're gonna nitpick something, the defense definitely didn't play their best ball.
Yeah, and I would even say this. I don't necessarily know if it is nitpicking per se, because the pass rush has been an issue all year
Yeah,
in terms of getting consistent pressure. Secondary's had its good and its bad moments.
that was a bad moment right there.
Yeah, but um, it's still left a lot to be desired, like you said, and they can't magically change, you know, something changing. They can't magically change the pass rush now, right?
Hmm.
It's not going to magically get better. The only thing that they can do is finish out the year with what they have and then look to increase in the off season, right? You're not going to bring in some random guy and he's going to be a all-star for the next
Right.
3 games, you know. So we'll see what changes they make. Maybe it's getting, just kind of rotating guys and maybe riding with hot hands after that. Like, yeah, Diaby's had some good moments. Anthony Nelson obviously had a sack in this game, so who knows? Maybe that's the fix. But finally, Chase McLaughlin made all of his kicks. He's been fantastic this year. The Bucs only punted once, and it was an inside the 20, 65-yard punt from Jake Camarda. So I mean, like all around, Evan, this was a really solid game for the Bucs. It's probably is and is going to stay their best win of the year, right?
Hmm. No, I look, it was a great win, yeah, but you can't expect this offense to do what they did and put up 34 points again, like because the evidence shows that like that's not who they are. That's not the type of football games that they win. So if you're expecting this offense to go out and just be, fantastic every game now and put up 30 plus points, I think you're setting yourself up for a little bit of disappointment there, but really their most complete win, I would say, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Now, against New Orleans, I would say that was probably their second most like complete win, 26-9 in New Orleans too, both on the road. And Lambeau's not an easy place to play. So, just a really good win all around to win that game by multiple scores. And like I said, just it never really felt in doubt. And I think it's because of the production the offense had. You're like, even if the Packers score a touchdown, like the Bucs offense is going to respond like that because it's come so easy for them today. But I think that going forward, this offense, the key is just limiting the turnovers. That's the key. Playing clean football. They didn't turn the ball over at all in Atlanta. And was the offense great? No. Like Baker Mayfield was not great either. But they won the game. And the big reason why they won the game is they won the turnover battle. So, yes, they had a turnover this week, but when you score 34 points, it sort of negates the turnover. So, that was a big key there. And I think going forward, that's something they're going to need to key in on. And just play clean football because these next 2 games really are going to be pretty critical. Obviously, Jacksonville's an AFC opponent, but you could potentially have a massive divisional game on your hands against the New Orleans Saints here in a few weeks.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. Folks, let us know your thoughts and opinions about this game down in the comments section below. It would be greatly appreciated. Go check out Evan's work over at the Cane and Fire podcast and at BucsNation.com. It'd be greatly appreciated. And as always, guys, we'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now and go Bucs.